A new gameplay mode where you can play your
Maybe.
favorite hero in a PvE environment. For all the people who like to farm the jungle, now you actually can, and that's the main game. It's just grinding loot. Welcome to another video on behalf of Dota Alchemy. I'm joined by my good friend, myself, and this other guy who happens to be a guest on this video. I think his name's Jenkins, but I don't know. I just found him outside and hooked him up with the webcam. I needed somebody to talk to about that.
Joke's on you. Everybody knows that's a lie because I don't leave the house. So,
Fair point.
got
Well,
you.
the thing about that is that none of us are going to be leaving the house anytime soon.
True.
Supposedly, Tuesday is the patch, and that means that there will probably be some pretty striking changes to the game of Dota 2, and that's why we're here today to talk about that, because we want to kind of just discuss what we might see in the Outlanders update so you guys can be prepared so you don't just completely throw away all of that hard-won MMR by trying to play some other version of Dota than what is actually going to be good when the patch comes. And we might even talk about some things that we think should be changed and some stuff that probably will be changed as well. So, what do you think, Jenkins? Outlanders? You excited?
Yeah, I'm excited. I think so. First and foremost, I'm expecting big things. I know a lot of people are predicting 7.23. I think it's going to be 7.3 at least. I think we're going to see big changes. I'm expecting something along the lines of like adding talents. I think that this patch has been in the works for so long, and I really don't think it's just the new heroes, unless we see one of those big changes like in the new hero. Like let's say like Snapfire gets a mount that she can mount, and then that's also a hero, like something crazy. You know what I mean? Like I really don't think it's just going to be some balance changes and then like a couple of reworks. I think it's going to be big.
A new gameplay mode where you can play your
Maybe.
favorite hero in a PvE environment. For all the people who like to farm the jungle, now you actually can, and that's the main game. It's just grinding loot
Yeah, maybe.
on your favorite hero.
Yeah, that honestly something like that. I have a lot of faith in Valve that there's a very small chance that it's taken this long compared to the previous years, and there isn't something big. But I was thinking at first maybe we should talk about the heroes that we think are going to get changed, because I think these are the more like obvious changes that are going to happen. There will be balance reworks, especially since we've seen the meta remain essentially the same since TI. I think it's pretty obvious that we're going to see some hero changes.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, and despite the cyclical nature of the game where, certain heroes become meta and then other heroes become meta again to counter them, we definitely are pretty stuck in a set, I would say maybe like 20 heroes that you're going to see at least 5 to 10 of them every single game. In tournaments and even in pubs, like
in pubs at this point, that's the problem. Is
right.
it's just trickled down to every level of pub,
Yeah,
and now nobody can escape Faceless Void, man.
yeah.
Nobody.
When you got Heralds picking Keeper of the Light first, you've got a problem, right?
Yeah. Speaking of which, my prediction for Keeper of the Light is I think that they're gonna change Blinding Light. I think this ability is too good for laning. I think they're gonna make it scale to be very low mischance at level 1, like 30% or something, and then scale up to be the same. Um,
Yeah.
I don't think that he needs to be reworked or something like that. No, I don't think there needs to be a lot of big changes to these heroes because the game is going to change so much, likely, that a lot of people want to see Cuddle nerfed more than that. But I think it's going to be something like Blinding Light scales, and then I think Chakra Magic's going to get nerfed a little bit. And I honestly think that's it.
Yeah, I could see them maybe changing his ult a little bit. Maybe like make the flicker off longer,
For a little bit longer.
something like that. But yeah,
Yeah,
I
sure.
definitely. I mean, the fact that Blinding Light doesn't have any scaling in terms of like, it just doesn't make any sense. Like,
Not okay.
all the
Not
other skills in the game have scaling for a reason. So
Yeah.
that'll definitely
That
happen.
that's actually how I'm predicting that a lot of these heroes are going to change. Like I think Lena, I believe that they're going to make her stun have a scaling cooldown,
Hmm.
because just the fact that she can spam it every, I believe it's 8 seconds
Yeah,
in the
seven,
laning
eight
stage.
seconds.
it's too much, but outside of the lanes, it doesn't feel that broken. It feels fine. It's like you don't want Lena to be a boring hero to play. You want the heroes in Dota to be fun, but I think it's obvious that a lot of these like position fours, position fives are way too good in laning. And if you nerf that, then you're nerfing the hero.
Yeah, speaking of laning, that's another thing that I think needs to be changed and probably will be to some extent. I don't think that they're going to get rid of pulling and stacking and stuff like that, but I feel like they're going to have to do something, just make it so it's not like every single game is just a 2-1-2 setup and everybody's just like fighting for the first couple of waves, and then it just becomes like this chaotic mess of like side pulls and weird stuff. I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like the laning stage is not really so much about laning anymore. It's more about just like this weird sort of like who can out regen the other team, and I don't really like that it's been
Yeah,
statically like
yeah.
that for so long.
It's Nushan was actually saying this to me. He was saying that it's kind of boring because the way everybody plays the game is super safe. Why
Yeah.
go for a kill in the lane when you know that pulling is going to get you more experience? Why try to tri-lane your opponent when you know you can just dual lane and do some creep manipulation to just go even and then win team fights? Like, people aren't fighting you, so
Yeah.
both teams are just avoiding fights because when one team wants to fight, the other team knows that and they're avoiding it. So I think laning is very similar to that, where the best way to play is just the safest possible way.
Yeah.
And that's why I think that there's going to be a lot more value put on kills. That's why I think that's going to happen. I think there's going to be these kill heavy dual lanes. I think that smokes in the laning stage with like dual supports, that's going to be better. I think maybe tri lanes are going to come back. And my only argument for it is it's a little uninteresting right now. And I think that would be more interesting, at least for another 5 to 6 month period or until the next big patch.
Yeah, I mean, things have already kind of been trending towards being kills more important just because of the gold being removed from the map, but I feel like it's almost gotten to the point where it was pushed in that direction, and then people have almost overcorrected to where they're like, well, because there's less gold, it's more important that we just like very safely accumulate that gold. And so
Yeah.
now it's just like GPM talents, like the flash farmers, and then everybody else just kind of sits around and waits for like the one hard carry in their team to get super farmed. There are pushing strats that are like, somewhat successful, but it kind of feels like every single game is just going late now by default.
Feels that way. I mean, it definitely does in pubs.
Yeah.
It definitely feels that way. I think that you're right about the creep manipulation. My theory is that a change that they're going to make to creeps is that they can no longer be aggro pulled until they reach the outermost tower. So that way people can't cut, people can't just drag waves in the late game. That might result in people needing to pick heroes that can just kill creep waves without them aggroing, something along those lines. But
Right.
something big definitely needs to change with the lane creeps. And I think that that's not only true because of laning, it's true because of the manipulation of the lane creeps happening so much outside of laning as well. Like, this is something that happens at 70 minutes into the game. Nobody ever has to go back to deal with split pushing because of creep cutting. People cut creeps whenever they can't farm anywhere else. And I do think it's interesting, but if you make something like that not possible and then change the game in other respects, people are going to find other interesting things to do in Dota. I mean, it's kind of a sandbox. There's so many mechanics that there's stuff that we probably don't know about right now that you can do that's totally game breaking.
And speaking of that, I think that, I don't know, as a support, I've been getting more and more bored with like this formulaic progression of how the game flow works. Like, there's always going to be the need to have somebody buying wards, and that's fine. I think that there should be some distribution of farm, but I feel like they need to make it so all 5 positions have more of an equal footing somehow. I don't know what that would necessarily be, whether like what if
Free wards.
no,
Free
literally, like,
wards for all.
what if every hero gets like a ward in stock like every 6 minutes or something like that?
Buy it and then drop it for the support to place.
No,
Which
but
which
you
then
know
which
you know what
then
I'm
causes the
saying?
support to spend their time. No, I know what you're saying. I feel like so many changes that you can make will just result in people kind of adapting and then still making the position 5 do everything. It's like you make everybody able to buy a ward, but the support can't just buy it for you. And then they drop it, and then the pos 5 has to go ward, and then the pos 5 is wasting all their time warding, and they're still like poverty mode. Like I feel like
Yeah.
it's just really good to have one person that's buying the really efficient items and spending like bracers and spending all of their gold on the support items. I feel like that is so insanely good. Maybe what will fix that is just more focus on like fighting and kills. So like if a certain hero starts getting a lead, then maybe they can transition where it's like, okay, maybe the carry or the off lane will start buying the wards because this hero, the Crystal Maiden, is getting all the kills, and you want her to continue her snowball. So maybe if there's just some sort of mechanic that it promotes the snowballing of certain heroes, and then
Right.
a focus on kills. So that way, if your support is getting is snowballing, it's detrimental to you to have them continue buying stuff. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
get kind of make it so that there is a support, but it's not always the same person doing it. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I think although they did just implement this whole role queue thing, so it seems like they're okay with these sort of very differentiated.
That's a
Um,
good point. I have a couple of other things that I think will get nerfed. Generally speaking, we could go on and on about heroes, but all the top heroes, they're getting nerfed. That's obvious. Who knows how they're going to nerf them, but they're probably going to be in the dumpster. But general nerfs, I would say that high grounds is something that's going to change.
thank
I think
God. Hopefully.
I I think that it leads to a very stale sort of gameplay where everybody is sitting on a high ground and then somebody else is sitting on a high ground, and I'm waiting for you to come to my high ground because I know that if you come here, I'm going to kill you. But because you know that, and also your high ground is better, you're waiting on your high ground, and we're all just farming and standing on goddamn high grounds for the entirety of the game. And the only period where stuff happens is the transition between those high grounds. And that's all Dota is it's the
Yeah.
movement between these high grounds for about 40, 50 minutes. And then one team takes a fight. The enemy team has no buybacks because they fought on a high ground. And then you go down mid and throne.
Yeah, it's true. That again, as a support, it's just been such a nightmare to get wards up and have them stay up at this point because everybody knows you just deward your high ground, like the entrance to all of your high grounds and on your shrine, and there's no good places to ward outside of like the lanes now. You have to like deep ward in the lanes, but that doesn't give you access or vision of the good parts of the map, which are the high grounds. And so I was super excited when they introduced these high ground jungles because I was like, oh, okay, this is cool. You can actually like defend your jungle finally because we hadn't been able to defend our jungles for a long time because it was just like, oh, you lose safe lane tower and now you can't go into your jungle anymore because it's just taken by the enemy team.
Yep. Yep.
But it's kind of overcorrected to the point where you basically you take the safe lane tower now and then you can't really progress any farther because there's like this black high ground that you can't go up to, just covered in the fog of war, and you go up there and you try and place a ward and it's like, oh, instantly dewarded because there's just a pre-sentry there. Yeah.
Yeah. So my theory on this is, this might sound wild. I have this bridge theory. I think that there are going to be bridges in Dota. There were bridges in Warcraft 3,
Mm-hmm.
and it honestly surprises me that there aren't any bridges on the Dota map because they were in Warcraft 3. But just some way from getting to high ground, from one high ground to another without having to walk up. I like the idea of multiple levels in the game. I think that makes it interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I think that means there's, like you said, interesting wards, interesting plays you can make, places you can stand to get vision. There's a lot of cool stuff that comes from having levels in the game. Otherwise, it's just this boring flat map that everybody's on the same level. And what's the point of having this high ground vision mechanic if it's just your base high ground? That's kind of weird.
Right.
So yeah, my thought was like some bridges or a lot more of these low grounds, like bounty runes on it, places where it benefits you to play in the low ground, but have high grounds kind of surrounding them, so that there's just more accessibility to the high grounds without just walking up a very obvious choke point location. That's the big change that I would see. I really doubt they're going to remove high grounds because it just makes Dota interesting, and they were also a relatively recent change in terms of the Dota lifespan.
Right.
Um, So yeah, I would say that I call it the bridge theory, but it doesn't have to be actual bridges where you can walk under them, although that would be cool. I think that there's going to be like maybe even land bridges where it's just like you can walk from one high ground to another. Um,
Hmm.
but
Yeah, I
there's
could
also
see
like
something
low
like
grounds
that.
that you can walk on. There's some benefit to walking on them. Although I do think bridges would be cool. Like a bridge over the mid lane, you can walk from one high ground to another. That'd be neat.
A
Come on,
bridge
that'd be cool.
a bridge over Roshan. What about that? Just like from one
Dude, that'd be wild.
one jungle to the other jungle that goes over Roche, and you can just like walk across the bridge over Roche.
That'd be crazy.
But that does
Dude,
bring up an interesting.
destructible. Maybe they should make destructible bridges and then by extension just make other parts of the map other than just trees destructible. You can just like break you can just like break a wall down and create a ramp up to a high ground yourself.
Earthshaker
What about that?
overpowered. He just like
Yeah,
destroys the map.
Dude, that'd be cool. That'd
But
be really cool.
I think we're kind of dancing around this subject. I think that we're gonna get a new map, or like
Think so?
something
Like a
vastly
second
different.
map?
So I would consider it. Like, think about all these like other games now. All these battle royales, they've gotten like a second map in their second season. It's different, and it's still a competitive game, but it's in a different.
Do they have the
map.
old one? Does Fortnite still have the old one?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so you think they're just gonna remove the current map and rework it from scratch, basically?
Maybe, I don't know.
That'd be cool. I mean, I would love that. I would love that after all these years. That'd be cool as hell, man.
Like
I'm in full support of that idea.
like how else could you change the game in such a fundamental level where you don't actually change the mechanics of the game, but you give everybody who's playing it with those mechanics such a vast array of new problems to solve because the entire map is different.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds amazing. That'd be cool.
You know,
I'd love to see it.
it is the Outlanders update, right? So maybe we're gonna go to the
That's
Outland.
true.
Right?
Maybe we're going to the Outland. That is 100. That's a good theory, man. I'm loving that theory. Actually, I'm with that one. That's a cool theory.
I think that we're gonna get some new items as well, potentially. They usually in these big updates add some more items, whether we need more items or not. Like, I don't know. I'm pretty happy with where the items are at personally. I think tweaking some numbers, but
I think my one thing that I would really like is some item to deal with illusion heroes that's not radiance.
yeah,
Something like make Meteor Hammer do extra damage to illusions or something along those lines. Dude, make Holy Locket give you like 50% extra illusion damage. It just feels like that's one of the only things where you can't deal with it in the game. Like you have like Decrepify from Pugna and Ghost Scepters, and you get Nullifier for that, or there's stuns, you get Satanic. Like there's something for everything except illusion.
Yeah.
Except illusion.
Yeah, there is no real direct counter to illusion heroes. Like even Radiance is not that great.
It's just the only thing. That's why people think it's a counter, because nothing else does anything to illusions.
Right.
That's it. It's like pathetic amount of magic damage, but you need something.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Well, yeah, man. I don't know. I'm just excited. Supposedly it's going to be Tuesday. I know what I'm going to be doing all Tuesday. You know what you're going to be doing all Tuesday.
I'm a Snapfire main now.
Snapfire main. Yeah. Looks fun. So let us know in the comment section below what you guys think should be changed. Oh, I guess one final thing for me is that we're probably going to get another iteration of the matchmaking system to some extent.
Oh, of course. A few of them.
Yeah.
At least a few.
A few changes to matchmaking, and who knows, maybe even something for the new players as well. But let us know in the comment section what you think is coming down the pipeline in this new patch and what you're most excited about. So we'll see you when that new content comes out real soon.